Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for July 24th, 2024. Well, I hope everyone had a great evening, ready for another wild and crazy day in the market. Looks like we have a little bit of bearishness to start the day today after some disappointing tech earnings. So first off, let's take a look at what happened overnight. Asian markets last night had a rough night, moving lower across the board. There was some Australian business activity reports and things that were not favorable for the market, and so we saw some selling across the board. And Nikkei took it probably the hardest, down 439 points or 1.11%, and the Nikkei and the Hong Kong fell 158 points or 0.91% after the disappointing tech earnings here in the U.S. If we take a look at European markets are bearish across the board here this morning. Looking a little bit heavy as they've got some regional bank issues over there in some of the earnings, helping to push things to the negative side. And here in the U.S., we are turning to the downside here and actually decidedly bearish at this very moment. Dow futures being down about 180 points. With the NASDAQ futures down 216 points. So pretty substantial moves here coming in this morning's market. So we'll just have to be prepared for that, and don't be surprised because we've got a huge round of earnings this morning. We could easily bounce back up. Let's take a look at oil stocks here this morning. If we take a look at XLE had a pretty rough day yesterday, pulling back. But interestingly enough, we are not following through with that move this morning, at least in the futures. Oil futures up 56 cents at 77.52 a barrel. Brent is up 51 cents at 81.52 a barrel. And then poor natural gas. We continue to see natural gas just being beat to death here, pounded down as if we'll never need natural gas ever again in the world. But watch that closely here. It is very hammered lower. If we were to take a look at our precious metals here this morning, if we take a look at GLD, you can see GLD showing a little bit of upside move here, following through with yesterday's upside bump. Gold up at the moment $7.40 an ounce. Silver is up this morning, so if we take a look at silver, it is got a modest little increase going on after sinking pretty hard. We've even got copper, platinum, and palladium moving to the upside here this morning, so keep an eye on those precious metals. Looking at crypto's trying to bounce back from a pretty rough day yesterday. Taking a look at BITO here, they were down over $2,000 a coin yesterday on Bitcoin, but this morning bouncing up 760 on those, trying to rebound, and mostly higher here on crypto this morning across the board. So keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at our bonds here this morning. Now our bonds have eased up here just a little bit. That's helping things out here this morning. Bond yields on the 2-year at 4.43%. 10-year coming in at 4.24%, and the 30-year bonds at 4.48%. So we're relieving a little tiny bit of that pressure here this morning. Nothing major here on those moves, but something to be paying attention to. And so with that, what does all that mean for today? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Let's take a look at these charts and see if we can figure out how we might want to approach the market for today. And remember, we want to push that bias aside and really look at the chart for what it is, not for what we want it to be. And we want to look at all the potentials of where the price could move here on the day. So first off, if we take a look at the diamonds, you can see after this really strong rally to the upside, well, that pullback that came in shouldn't have been a surprise, was relatively strong, and we are floating right above this price support level in the chart. And if you watched yesterday, I suggested if the bears found any inspiration at all, it really wouldn't be that tough to see this potentially pulling back in here to test this area of price support. And if we were to drop below that level, maybe coming down in here to this next little level in the chart, you can see right there on the tops and the lows of those patterns right in there. And we would be testing this trend that we're holding on here into the diamonds. So wouldn't be too much of a surprise to see that as a possibility after some disappointing tech earnings. But remember, we've got a lot of other earnings coming along that could help us come back to the upside. But a rest in here, or even a consolidation out here for the next few days out here toward the trend. Remember, we've got some big numbers coming in here on Thursday and Friday, economic numbers that we'll want to be paying attention to, and that could really make anything at all possible here. Now, if the bulls were to find inspiration, the first test that we're going to have to do is kind of get back above this area right here and then see if we can push on up through that little area of price resistance in the chart. If we could push up through there, then maybe we look at filling that gap here in that chart and getting a little bit of energy back to the upside here in the diamonds. If we take a look at our SPY, well, SPY, this is a concern in here. This could be the first lower high in the SPY. As you can see, we rallied up to price resistance in the chart, running into that resistance, ending up turning in kind of a bearish engulfing candle, and now the possibility that we could follow through to the downside here this morning. Now, the critical thing on this is if the bears do find enough inspiration, if we were to fall enough that we broke this low, that would be a major problem, because that confirms a downtrend. Lower high followed by a lower low is the beginning of a downtrend. So we'll want to watch carefully for that possibility. If that area were to fail, then my suggestion is we could come all the way down into here, and that would be a good solid support where maybe we can catch a little bit of a bounce or relief. But you can see as this rotation is going on out of some of those tech giants and other things, we're really weakening up and softening here. So be careful on the SPY. Now, that being said, if the bulls find inspiration here today, first thing we're going to need to do is push back up and see if we can break back into that area, which wouldn't be all that hard to do with some good earnings reports. And if that can break there, then every reason to believe we could push back up, test this resistance in the chart. Now, breaking through here would change everything. We would remove that worry maybe of the possible lower high downtrend, assuming we could hold up here. A pop through up here and a reversal doesn't help us, but if we pop through up here and held, we'd be in pretty good shape. We do want to recognize the fact that we have lost this upside trend, and so we're kind of wandering in here trying to figure out where we are, and it is certainly possible this is the beginning of a little bit of a pullback in the market. If we take a look at our QQQ, very similar situation here on the QQQ. We rallied up into some price resistance here in the chart yesterday and then started to give it back up. We've already created a little bit of a lower high here followed by a lower low, and now we have another lower high potential in the chart. If this were to follow through to the downside like we're showing so far this morning and break this low, once again, that confirms the continuation of the downtrend in the QQQ. And the next area of price support in here after breaking this level could be, filling that gap here, that little gap, pushing on down into this area of price support in the chart. As well, beyond that, it gets a little bit painful, and you can see here in the QQQ, we may test that 50-day moving average here today. What I was suggesting yesterday could be a possibility, and if we lose that 50-day moving average, close below, coming down in these areas, some fear may start to come up in the market. If we take a look at on the bullish side, if the bulls can reverse this today and start pushing back up, first we need to break through this area of price resistance in the chart. Then we can start looking at the tops of these candles and then possibly even pushing up into this resistance area to see if we can break back through to the upside and maybe reverse that potential downtrend that we're seeing here in the NASDAQ. If we look at our Russell had a great day yesterday. Everything else was struggling a bit. Russell had a great day as we continue to see that rotation out of tech, widening that base here in the market into more trading. Now we'll want to keep an eye on this. If the bears were able to push this back down here today and break back down through this area of the chart, we do want to consider the fact that could be a lower high in the Russell. So watch that carefully if that were to occur. Breaking back down below this low would really raise some concern, because that lower high and lower low might be the beginning of a short-term downtrend here in IWM. If the bulls can continue to find that inspiration here, well, first step, let's break back through the top of yesterday's candle up here. Let's break back up in here and then see if we can start stretching up here toward these highs and pushing up toward this area of resistance. So that's a significant resistance up there. A lot of price data up there. But if the rotation is strong enough, that is certainly a possibility. And then we'll start looking at IWM possibly testing for some all-time highs. So watch that carefully. Let's take a look at our VIX. Our VIX pulled back yesterday, and then by the end of the day, we bounced back up. There seemed to be a little bit of worry going into these big tech earnings reports. We were selling off toward the close of the market, which would suggest institutions were lightening up. And another thing that we need to be considering is there was a bit of a warning here for that possibility, and that's simply because we saw institutions starting to rotate out of the big tech giants and push money into other places of the market. There was some concern there. Now, if we can see that concern continuing to spread to some of those other techs later on in the earnings season, well, we might have some worries here in the market to be considering. So be kind of careful here on the VIX. I suspect that it will rally here today and move up, and that may actually constitute that higher low here in that chart, and we could start really seeing some fear coming up in the market. Remember, we tested this big downtrend here in the chart. If we were to spike up through there, I would guess that there would be some pain coming in the market if that were the case. If the bulls, however, can overcome this and we can hold in here, good for them. And then that possibility that they could even push us lower, we want to watch for that possibility as well. If we take a look at our T2122, T2122, the 4-week new high, new low ratio, left behind this little hockey stick in the air, suggesting that, well, doggone it, we might see a little bit of sell pressure come into the market. Now, if the bulls can find something in the data today to reverse this back up, and every reason to believe that's possible, then we've got some upside space here for them to move in. But keep in mind, we also have a pretty big downside space for them to move in should those bears find any reason to push. And well, at least we're starting the day off with that little bit of bearish push here, that could open up into a little bit bigger downside slide here in the market. We'll just have to wait and see. If we take a look at our T2108, our T2108 also still very bullish. There's nothing about this chart that isn't bullish. But we saw that little evidence in here, possible lower high, hockey stick in the air, suggesting that maybe we weren't getting the price action support that we would hope for here in the chart. And maybe we just pull back into some support areas. There's nothing wrong here yet in that chart. It would be if we really started to sink hard and fast that we could probably end up with some bearish patterns in here. But for now, pull back into support, take away some of this frothiness up here, up toward these highs, would really be a healthy thing. If we take a look at our T2107, same thing is true. Found that little hockey stick up there, possibly lower high, but there's really nothing wrong with this chart. Bulls still holding that control overall here in the market. And again, maybe a little rest or pullback in here would be healthy for the market. And then last but not least, our T2101 was indicating early on in the day yesterday to be really, really careful because all we did yesterday was chop around. Volumes were relatively low, and we saw breadth in the market declining. And once again, I don't think that's terrible here. I just think that that is the normal ebb and flow in the market. We tried to continue to keep that bull going, but obviously big tech disappointing here last night, and we could see that little bit of fade in here. What you don't want to see is, if you're a bull in the market, you don't want to see suddenly this starting to spike higher on a bearish wave in the market. That would mean that the bears are gaining momentum here in the market. So watch that carefully. What we want to see on a pullback is continue to see that breadth declining in here if you are a bull. Let's take a look at our economic calendar here for today. And our economic calendar, well, obviously we have a few things going on here today to be paying attention to. So first off, we're going to be dealing this morning. We've got mortgage applications coming in, and those numbers have already come in, and mortgage demand is dropping this morning, following through with the last decline here on mortgage demand. The purpose of raising rates is to slow the economy. So shouldn't be a major surprise that as we continue to keep that pressure on the market, that we're seeing the consumers pull back here. So a little bit of additional bearish news coming in here this morning on mortgage apps. We've got PMI flash that will be out here this morning. Keep an eye on that. Interestingly enough, they didn't provide us a consensus of what the composite might be. Last time was 54.8, so keep an eye on that. Looks like they're just kind of somewhat punting here, keeping those numbers pretty much the same in the consensus. Not really sure where that's going to go, I guess. And then we've got new home sales coming in today. They're looking for this to move up to 640,000. Remember, we saw those existing home sales fall yesterday more than expected. So be careful, watch that number here, could be market moving. And then we've got petroleum status numbers here today, some bond auctions to be paying attention to. That survey of business inventories, certainly something to take a look at, not likely going to move the market. But then everyone's going to be thinking, shortly after we get through these earnings and things today, we're going to be thinking about what happens on Thursday. We've got durable goods orders and we've got GDP numbers coming in prior to the market open, along with international trade and jobless claims. So a busy morning here of data that is certainly has that potential to move the market bullishly, bearishly, create considerable volatility. So be prepared for that Thursday morning as you plan your risk looking forward. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for today. And our earnings calendar, well, it's going to be a really busy one. Guys, there is a lot of reports in here to be paying attention to. There's no way I can cover them all, so make sure you click the link. Below the title of the video, you'll see that in the description, right at the end of that description, there's a little tiny more. Click on the more. That will take you into the description, and I have a link in there that'll take you back to the morning blog. And speaking of links, there will also be a link for you to register for today and tomorrow's open house in Right Way Options. If you go into that description and click that link, you can register and you can be in with us for the next 2 days in Right Way Options. And I'd love to have you be there. I'd love to have you be very active, asking questions, things like that. So come on over. I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of trading with the craziness that we're coming into on Thursday, but that doesn't mean we can't have a couple of good days of education here while we wait on the market. So make sure you can find those links. Now, as far as the earnings goes, we're going to be hearing this morning from AT&T. Looks like it's trying to bounce. BSX is on that list. We have EVR on that list. We've got General Dynamics in there. We've got Old Dominion reporting today. Keep an eye on that. We're going to hear from Roper. So quite a few reports here this morning to be paying attention to. After the bell today, maybe one of the most notable that people seem to pay a lot of attention to is CMG. We've got Ford in there. We're going to hear from GGG. We've got IBM that will be reporting this afternoon. United Rentals are in there this afternoon. So keep an eye. There is a huge number of earnings today and tomorrow to add to this uncertainty and volatility as we head toward some of these really big numbers economically. So how about we take a look at a few stocks that could be setting up for today? But before we do that, everyone, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could do me that quick favor, if you could click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up, so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, and that would be click that thumbs up button, leave that brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. And again, I know it gets monotonous doing that, with a daily video. I get it, but thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. Just remembering that it does take a lot of time to put these videos together as well. So I hope you appreciate that, and I know I certainly appreciate all the kind words and comments left in on these videos. Thank you, everyone. Let's take a look at some stocks setting up. And remember, guys, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. You need to do your own due diligence. Be very, very careful in this market, and make sure that you are paying close attention to the market condition, the risks that we may have ahead as you plan your trading. And remember, you should never ever blindly follow anyone else's trade ideas. Well, first off, let's take a look at a few charts. I did add some alerts yesterday, and I'm going to give credit where credit is due on these. A couple of these new alerts came from a member in the trading room, and I got to tell you guys, that's one of the major benefits of being in a trading room. It's not just me. I'm probably the least of that. It's all of the trained people that we have in the trading room that everybody's got their eyes on the market. Everybody's watching charts, and those folks bring up some really really good trade ideas and post them in the room for everyone to be able to take advantage of. So first off, let's take a look at AKAM. Really nice pattern here in the chart. Unfortunately, it's going to report on 8/8 and may have some impact here, just being tech, may have some impact from those tech numbers that we saw last night. But past that, this is a really nice bullish pattern. I placed a price alert on here just to see if there would be an opportunity to take a quick trade in here ahead of earnings if that were to pop on through. And you can see we've got a gap above that could be filled. So watch that closely here. Pretty interesting chart. Also a pattern in here that you might see as a cup and handle pattern. So watch carefully there on AKAM. One of the members brought this tap. Take a look at Molson's here. Beautiful potential trade. Little W formation here on the bottom. We've broken this downtrend in the chart, rallying up, trying to rest back and consolidate. Made an attempt yesterday, but that selling going into the close yesterday caused that to pull back. So watch that carefully here in the chart. This is also a pattern that we call a rounded bottom breakout. The rounded bottom breakout is a stock that's been really oversold, crosses back up through that 50-day moving average, holds in that area, and then we look for that buy signal that pushes us up, and we would look for this to move on up, not in a straight line, but eventually get up here and test the 200-day moving average. So watch that carefully in TAP. A nice potential trade. If you take a look at BMY, BMY is another BBY is another one looking very good in a bullish pattern here, holding up in this nice little upside trend, like resting right against that resistance and that possibility that could pop on through. Now, if it does, this is a really big potential breakout here. So something to take a look at in BBY, like the pattern, like the way that is setting up. Also, I mentioned BMY. BMY is another one of those patterns where we're breaking up through this downtrend. We have hated on BMY for a long time and starting to come around. This is one of those really big dividend payers and maybe one of those rotational plays into the market. We can really see the fingerprints of institutions if they can hold this pattern and then see if they follow through to the upside. Once again, this is in one of those rounded bottom breakout patterns, one of our favorite patterns coming off of a bottom. Keep a close eye on that. BMY looking pretty darn good overall. I continue to mention Walmart. I mentioned it yesterday. I'm going to mention it again today. You know, it's pretty hard not to see a pretty good opportunity in this chart when we continue to just pull back to this trend and then find buyers. So just place a price alert in here. Just wait. Wait and see if that's going to pop up through, because there's every reason to believe here at the moment that this could continue to extend. Worth taking a look at. TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx also very strong bullish pattern, holding above a support level. Nice in that trend. Tried to go yesterday, but that little bit of selling into the close caused a pullback here in the chart. If this can follow through, look for that opportunity there for TJ Maxx to continue to extend to the upside. As you guys know, I've been watching this IBM. This was an alert that I had on here. Again, it's one of those higher lows, nice little resting platform, near trend, near support. If you watch any of my stuff, you know I do the same thing over and over and over. So I get really high probability trades by doing that. And if you take a look what we've got going on here in IBM, popping through that resistance here in the chart after filling the gap, resting this back toward trend. Unfortunately, we're probably going to have to wait on this one because this is going to report this afternoon, and anything can happen on that report. But there's just another one of those patterns setting up and looking very, very good. If we take a look at some of the mining sector, take a look at GDX. GDX has had quite a rally, nice little resting pullback to come back in here and find some support. Watch that carefully here on some of those miners, and you can see some of those moves in like Newmont. Nice little bullish pattern setting up in here. KGC, Gold miners looking really, really strong, so it would be worth keeping an eye on those. Of course, you could still look at GLD trying to rally up here. We've got a gap to fill. I'm not sure if we're going to have enough energy in that for just a little bit to really get a lot going there until we get more confidence that there is a rate cut coming in the market, and then we'll likely see gold moving higher. So keep an eye on that. Also, as bonds continue to fluctuate around, keep an eye on that TLT. TLT slipped back below this support in here, so I've got a little concern on this. Any rally back that creates a lower high in here would potentially set up that short pattern. I want to see this push back up and hold. We need a little bit more indication here that those rates are going to be cut to see those bonds themselves start coming back up. So be patient on trades like this. It may take some time for this to come around, and who knows, maybe it won't come around at all if we start to see some kind of major sell-off in the market or a correction coming over this quarter. So watch carefully here in these charts. So with that, everyone, hey, I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for supporting the Right Way Options channel. And again, make sure you get into that link and come on over to the trading room. We're going to be started here right at the top. As soon as the market opens, we'll be started in the room, and we're going to keep that going. There'll probably be some breaks in there, but mostly going all day long for the next 2 days. So if you have any questions on options or anything that I can help with, great day for that education as we wait for some of this big data and likely some price volatility in the market. Y'all take care, be safe. Hopefully see you in the trading room in just a little while, and I wish you all the best today.